So Advent's an interesting season, I think, in the church versus, when you walk out these doors, right? Like Christmas happened on November 1st, or we've been preparing for Christmas since November 1st. And here in the church, Bethany and I were talking this morning about like Advent hymns versus Christmas hymns and like, am I purist? And we have a lot of great Advent hymns that we will try to get to some of them. But there's a lot of themes in the season of Advent that get passed over if you just jump right to Christmas, right? So these first couple of weeks are a little weird and a little hard, I think, because we just heard about this lesson from Jesus about the end of the world, and you don't know when the time is coming, and you need to be ready. So one of the themes of Advent then is like Jesus's second coming. We'll talk about that again in a second. The most obvious, I suppose, is that Jesus' first coming, right? His birth on Christmas would be the first sort of theme of Advent that comes at the end of the season, obviously. So that word Advent means to reveal. So I think for us, it's revealing how God comes to us each and every day. So instead of thinking about, like, I need to be prepared because I don't know when the end of the world is coming, I think it's more being prepared so that we're seeing God all around us. There's this fancy word called inbreaking, the inbreaking of God in the here and now. So how is God breaking in to our world today? And it happens all the time. And I think the hymn we just sang about sleepers wake, it's calling us sort of wake from sleep, wake from sort of the ho-hum of the everyday, and to slow down a little bit, and to notice, to take time to see what's going on. And in Isaiah and the Psalm that we just read, they're hopeful messages. They're doing what prophets always do, which is just call people to pay attention. So it's this vision of a world where when God comes back, when Jesus comes back, I should say, when Jesus comes back, there's no war, there's no fighting, there's joy and peace, and you don't need ramparts because you're not going to be looking for anybody who's going to come ransack your city anymore. There's this message of prosperity, looking for the good. So the prophet is looking ahead to this time, knowing full well it's not here yet, but looking ahead to this time when what is to come is so much better than what we have right now. So they were looking towards like this, when God and Jesus return, we've got this restoration of the world. So it's not that the world ends necessarily, it's that the world as we know it ends. And then you have this restoration, this rebuilding of something that's way better than what we are experiencing now. Because we know we live in a broken world. So this second coming is going to fix the brokenness and heal the wounds and make love prevail. That's what these prophets are looking for, hoping for. And that's what Jesus is saying too. Like the problem, I guess, the challenge is that we don't know when this happens, right? It's a warning about readiness and awareness. And in Matthew's day, Matthew wrote probably 70-ish, 80-ish AD. So not too far after Jesus' death, maybe about a generation. And in his day, and in Paul's day, Paul wrote even before Matthew, Romans, Jesus was coming again soon. Like he was coming again in their lifetime. So if Jesus is coming again in your lifetime, what are you going to do? How are you going to prepare? But you don't know when Jesus is coming. So do you want Jesus to catch you like engaging in debauchery and licentiousness? No, you don't, right? So you have to be ready and engage in these really godly things because Jesus is coming maybe tomorrow, maybe next year, but soon. So that's why these warnings in Matthew and Romans seem so like present, because they are like for them, like that was the message. But I think, again, it's reminding us like to watch what Jesus is doing, watch what God is doing. The women who were at the foot of the cross when Jesus died, they were watching. They were watching and waiting, and they were ready when Easter happened. So if the end really is near, then as Paul says, we're going to put on this armor of light and cast aside the works of darkness. I love that collect. Put on the armor of light. Like, what does that look like? What does your armor of light look like? How are you spreading light throughout the world? So here we are, 2,000 years later. The world's still here. The world's still pretty broken. So what do these lessons mean for us then on this first Sunday of Advent? Karl Barth is a theologian, and he is a 20th century theologian. And he said, we're living between the times. So we're living between creation, when the world began, and we're living between recreation, when the world is restored back to what God really had intended for us. So we're living between that. And that's where we're called to pay attention. That's where we're called to see God all around us, to see how God is breaking in to our everyday. Because Advent is about knowing, about being ready for what's to come, but not knowing when that will happen. And that's hard for people who want to be in control, to be sort of like Scrooge, right? Like the future is coming, but the future's not necessarily set, right? Scrooge spends the whole Christmas Carol play sort of looking back and then realizing that he can change his future, right? He can change how he's going to live his life once he sees the good around him, right? So we can heed these prophets who say, look for the beautiful, look for the blessings, look for the wonders of each day. This is a group of people who knows full well that life can end real quickly, right? So we sort of can take this message and know that like we can spread this light. Each day is a blessing, each day is a gift. So when we put on that armor of light, then we can dispel the darkness. We can light candles and spread hope and love and clothe those who need it and feed those who are hungry and do those things that are bringing the kingdom of God right here. That's how God breaks in, through the people who are doing the work right now, right? To be ready, but not scared of what's to come, but to just to know that it is coming, bless you, but that we can't fix it all. We can't make it all better, but we can do a little bit every day. And I think that's sort of the message of this first Sunday of Advent, is to sort of start to spread those sparks of light and love where we can, because we're waiting, we're watching, and we're ready, but we also can do something while we're waiting and watching. Amen.